Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Colton, and in today's video, I've got a little something different from what I've done before, and this is going to be essentially a recap of the photos that I took in the previous month. Now, there may be a few photos that made it into a different video that I'm gonna revisit, but for the most part, these are photos that have not been shown. These are the first time I'm showing them. You know, maybe they didn't fit into a post on Instagram because it's so curated there, and maybe they didn't make it into any other videos on the channel, but I still shot them, I still like them, and I want to give them a chance to have their moment where I can talk about them. So that's going to be essentially the premise for this, and I'd like to do this once a month to recap photos that I took in the previous month. So this is the first one, and we're going to be looking at photos from September. Now, I don't have a set number of photos for these in the coming videos. I think somewhere between 5 to 10, and maybe we'll figure out that sweet spot as we go. But I think this is a great chance for me to show photos that I otherwise might not have been able to show. Maybe talk about some of the things I was thinking or doing when photographing these things. Equipment I used, thoughts I had, maybe meaning that I have taken from them after the fact. So I think this could be really fun. If you guys like it, let me know in the comments either way, whether you like it and you want to see more videos and do a series like this, or if this one video is more than enough of a fill for you. So if that's the case, totally fine either way. And if you find one that you really like, let me know too. I'd love to know what you guys found interesting. So without further ado, let's take a look at some photos from September. All right, so the first photo that we're looking at here is from my Montana trip. I couldn't remember if I did share this in the video that I made. I'm pretty sure that I didn't, but I wanted to include it because it was really a beautiful shot, in my opinion at least. Now, obviously this telephone pole is kind of in the way, but I liked it. It gave a little bit of context to me at least. And this was actually one of the views from our Airbnb. So we were kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but the benefit was that almost 360 degrees, you just had beautiful mountains and fields and mostly uninterrupted. I mean, this was one of maybe 3 houses that were anywhere near where we were in terms of the view. And we had just gotten back from Yellowstone. It was golden hour, and I got out of the car and I was like, man, I love that house. I love that little barn. Very, kind of Montana northern vibes, and then just the beautiful light that was hitting the field, golden light, so the field just came alive. And yeah, just super beautiful, and very lucky that that was our view from our Airbnb. So wanted to include that. All right, and then the next one here was from a European car show that was actually at Top Notch, which is a burger restaurant. Been in Austin for decades. My grandpa used to go there when he had my dad. He would send my dad and his brother to go pick up burgers. And then when my dad had me and my brother, he would take us there to get burgers. So 3 generations of Matochas have been going to this burger joint. And this burger joint's actually the same one from the movie Dazed and Confused. So in the reflection of this side mirror is the fried chicken sign, which sits above the car hop, kind of like a Sonic if you've been to something like that. But there's a scene, or actually I think a couple scenes in Dazed and Confused where they take place in the car and they're at that car hop. So Matthew McConaughey and crew were here many decades ago filming for that movie. But now they have periodically some car shows, and they have different themed nights for the car shows. And so this one was European night. And I've been meaning to go to these for probably the better half of this year. And I just never could go, had other things happening, whatever it may be. And I just happened to be driving by. I had my camera with me because I'd been doing some photos. And I was like, wow, it's golden hour. The car show is going. I'm not going to miss it. I'm finally going to go. And so I got to go. It was a lot of fun, very crowded, a lot of really, really cool cars. And I just thought this shot was kind of a fun one to do. My biggest gripe is this man who's in the side mirror, or not the side mirror, but the window reflection. But to be honest, I mean, there were so many people. It was very challenging to get shots that didn't have anyone in a reflection of the car. And actually, there's even some people kind of reflected here on the front, I believe. So almost got a nice clean shot, but still one that I thought was kind of fun, wanted to include here. And then if you've been watching the channel for a while, you've probably seen this sign many times. And that's because usually if I have a new camera or a piece of equipment, I'll go photograph this sign and see how it compares to other times that I've photographed it. Super unscientific, by the way, because I don't go and shoot it in the exact same conditions. So, you know, this was shot probably around 6:30 during golden hour. But, you know, other times when I've shot it, maybe we're at golden hour or maybe we're at just random times in the day. So not a good method for viewing that, but it's always nice to go and look and see, you know, kind of what do you get out of it. And I was also impressed because this is a sign that has like a lot of texture to it. It's very, very old. And I thought the Canon R7 did a really good job resolving a lot of the detail in this sign. Of course, this is just a JPEG, so it looks a little better when you zoom in on that RAW file, but still, I mean, I think it looks good, plenty sharp, and the colors are really nice. Definitely helped by the fact that it is golden hour. And then this is another golden hour shot that I did on a totally different day. I've been meaning to for months now to go take photos at this theater. And this is the Cinemark 20D, but it used to be called Tinseltown, USA, and I couldn't tell if Tinseltown has always been owned by Cinemark or if Cinemark recently started buying Tinseltown locations. But it definitely used to be a Tinseltown. Now it's a Cinemark as far as the branding is concerned. And I wanted to photograph this though because this was a massive theater, still is, but was a massive theater that came into town when I was just a kid, and it actually put some smaller theaters out of business, which was sad. But this theater was new, it was poppin', and I remember as a kid just being blown away by this theater. And even now when I go, I'm still kind of blown away. It's also aged a bit, and so there is sort of like a nostalgia to it, or kind of like sometimes you'll walk and you'll just find like an empty area. It just looks like a liminal space, which is really cool. But kind of pixel peeping again, I noticed something that I had completely forgotten, which was when I took this shot, I was like, what is this green stuff I'm seeing? And initially I thought, oh no, is there some kind of like chromatic aberration or something happening like really hard with this lens on something that shouldn't be? And so I zoomed in and, you know, of course looked a little better on the RAW file, but you can clearly see that this was painted over black and that it was green. And when I was taking this photo, I just thought these were always black. And I had to go back and look up old photos of this theater. And these smokestacks were definitely green for the majority of the time. And then once it changed from Tinseltown to Cinemark, they repainted it. And apparently they didn't do a very good job. Although, that being said, with my naked eye, I couldn't tell that it was, you know, poorly painted. It's only in zooming in and then pixel peeping that I was able to see it. So maybe they did a good enough job. But I thought that was an interesting little detail. And then this is a shot of a random pickup truck outside of an art store that I've been going to get little supplies, hooks, you know, backing board, things to do all the framing for my gallery that's coming up. Most of the art in the gallery has been hand assembled by my brother and I, and only a few select pieces have been done by a professional group. But I've made a lot of trips to the art store over the summer, getting all the things I needed. And one of the times I went, this truck was out there, and I'd never seen it in any of my other trips over there. And obviously, this is an appealing vehicle for me, someone who's very into colors, but also the 90s. And this has like a heavy postmodernist, like Nickelodeon vibe to me. And so I was like, oh my God, I have to shoot this. It's almost like it was meant to be, because I had with me the Fujifilm GFX 50S and a adapter with a Mamiya 645 lens on it. And so I was like, this is also a perfect chance to get to test out this lens a little bit and this camera a little bit. And so I took some shots of this truck. Now, I was in a bit of a rush. If I had had more time, I might have tried to figure out, or maybe even wait for whoever owns this Honda to move their car, because I feel like that is a bit distracting for this particular shot. But it was really cool to get photos of this car. And even though this is a JPEG, like, you can zoom in a lot and still get so much detail out of this. So definitely the Mamiya with a Fujifilm GFX can really resolve some information. So it was a nice little test, and also just a fascinating car. I would love to meet whoever owns this. And then kind of riding that Fujifilm train, this was also the same camera, Fujifilm 50S, but it was with a native lens I was borrowing, which was the 32-64. And I was just doing kind of a random photo walk, nothing that I ended up, making a video about or anything. But I went over here to photograph a car that had a car cover on it. And that photo didn't really work out, couldn't really get a good angle on it. And so I turned around to leave, and I noticed this doll hanging out on some electrical equipment with a bunch of vines behind it. And the light was just hitting it in just this amazing way. I was like, I have to photograph this. So I shot a couple shots, and this was the one that I liked the best. But the colors, the light, the resolution, I was like, man, okay, I kind of get it. I kind of get the Fujifilm GFX. And even on a JPEG file, zooming in and getting so much resolution and detail out of this doll. I mean, you can see the fibers on the doll's outfit. Seemed like the doll maybe got left there earlier in the day, or maybe the day before, because it wasn't dirty or nasty. So I just must have happened upon it, at the perfect time while it was still in clean, pristine, or nearly pristine condition. But yeah, just really cool. And I love the way that this image feels like it pops a lot. So random photo, but definitely one that I enjoyed. And then our last photo is a shot on the Fujifilm FinePix J40, so a very old point and shoot camera. And this was at a place called Cidercade, which is a arcade that also sells pizza and cider. And it's in an old Joe's Crab Shack on the opposite side of our kind of like river lake here in Austin. So if you go out the back, you just see this beautiful uninterrupted view of downtown Austin and the skyline. And there's also even like a boardwalk back there that you can walk on, and just amazing view. But yeah, we went here, my girlfriend and I, with some of my girlfriend's friends who were visiting from out of town. And this was one of the things that we did as like an activity that weekend. And I saw this pumpkin. When I was a kid, my family had two pumpkins. One was kind of more of like a taller pumpkin, and the other one was like more traditional, like short, kind of fat pumpkin. And they were just like these plastic pumpkins that were part of our Halloween decorations. But we had them for years and years and years. And this looks a lot like it. I mean, it's not the same one, I don't think, but it looks so similar. I kind of got hit with like a little nostalgia and did a double take. So I was like, I got to get a photo. And I took a photo, and I just loved the way the colors came out, the fact that you have some really well lit foreground with the flash, and then the background kind of gets a little darker, so it's got that 2008, direct flash vibe, but then the, neon sign in the background kind of helps balance it out a bit. So just was a really good shot. I liked it. And this is also a situation where like this camera mostly takes like kind of really good photos. The colors look really good, but the resolution is not always super sharp. I mean, it's just an old point and shoot, but every once in a while it'll just nail focus or nail something, and you'll get an image that looks way sharper than it should be on this particular camera. And this is one that feels like that. If you zoom in, it falls apart, but viewing it all the way, you just feel like it's a lot sharper and higher resolution than it actually is. So anyway, just a fun photo for me to take and to round out my photos from September. All right, so those are the photos from the month of September. And I really enjoyed getting to share some of these photos just randomly with you guys, talk a little bit about them. And if you guys have questions or thoughts on any of these, let me know in the comments. I'll be more than happy to respond and answer any of your questions or talk about anything related to photography, really. If you enjoyed this, we'll do another one, and maybe this will be a reoccurring monthly series on the channel. But if you enjoyed the video, do give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and that'll keep you in the know for when the next video drops. But for now, I'm Colton. I'll see you in the next one.